Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker, and coming at you with a great little video. I'm hoping, and just want to kind of go over. This is the stuff that I use to maintain my knives. So clean them. I'm not going to go into the sharpening aspect or anything like that. This is just basically kind of cleaning them all up. Lubing them, making sure they're in good working order, making sure that that everything's lined up, working properly, and maybe the occasional little bit of sharpening. But I've gone through some sharpening kits, and I will do some more sharpening videos, and hopefully I'll be doing more of the kind of away from the desk videos, because right now I'm still stuck with no weight bearing on the foot, which sucks big time. But well, tomorrow I talked to my doctor through virtual link, and hopefully he can use his magical powers, and I am going to be able to walk. I'm not pain-free, but that's all right. All right, so what I want to do is I want to kind of go over, these are the tools and the stuff that I use to maintain a knife. This here is a great little Spyderco CPM S110V, super steel. This S110V is great. Takes a wicked edge. No, just a little bit off topic. Just in the down in the comment section, if you'd like. Now, I have noticed that on S30V, which is I think the majority of my Spyderco knives have got the S30V steel in them, and if it's been sitting inside my knife case for a couple of months, and I haven't used it, I noticed that it doesn't seem to have that little bit of a bite edge on it. Where some steels like ZDP 189, I put it away, it's razor sharp, it's got that bitey edge, that hair whittling edge, I pull it out 2-3 months later and it is exactly the same way. But yet I pull that S30V out and it seems like there's maybe some micro corrosion on the end there, and it doesn't seem so. I strop it a few times, and then it just, it's right back to hair whittling sharp with, a couple of times in the strop. So I'm guessing that there's a little bit of corrosion on the end. I don't know if you guys have realized that or seen that with some of your steel. If you do, just leave me a comment, and yeah, if you know exactly what it is, if it is the corrosion, then hey, great, question answered. But I just wanted to kind of have this knife here, and going to go over what I use to maintain a knife here, and I hope you guys find it interesting. There is going to be some stuff here that is specifically through the company that I work for. It's called Worth Canada, but hopefully you can find an analog out in the world, or once I get back to work, if anybody wants some of this stuff, I can point you to a direction where to get it in the States or Canada or probably around the world. We are a worldwide company, so. But it's just to give you an idea of what I use. All right, let's not go too crazy here. We'll take my knife, put it aside here, and the first thing that a lot of people are going to wonder is screwdrivers. And I actually use a Wera set. I actually have a Worth set too as well, but this was a really nice, comfortable set that I bought on Mass Drop Canada. It was a knife care kit, and this is what came with it. This is the other thing that came with it too as well. I suppose I should have started with the first thing here, which is called a soldering mat. So it's actually designed for electronics, and this one here is actually called BT Show Silicone Pro Soldering Mat. And it's just a great little thing that I put down, so when I drop a screw, it doesn't bounce away. I've also got this drawer liner, is what it's called, for toolboxes, and I put that on top of my desk here because I like the idea that there's a little bit of give. So if I drop something, it doesn't skitter and bounce away. It'll actually just kind of bounce and stay kind of where it is. So if it doesn't hit the mat, it'll hit this other mat, and it'll actually just stay where it is. Now, it's got nice little compartments on it too as well. So when you do take something apart, you can put it, I like to line up my knives like this. And so anything that is on this side will go there. Anything that's on that side will go here or here, and vice versa, So that's the way I kind of take care of stuff when I'm taking it apart. Yeah, so this is a soldering mat, and you can buy these on Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive. Eventually, you know, I think I'll get to the point where I can maybe get some of this stuff and put it in an Amazon store and send links so you guys can just click it and buy it. We'll see if I can get that that technologically advanced. All right, and so the other thing that I have is the Wera screwdriver set, the precision screwdrivers, and it goes from here. These ones here go from T5. We've got T6, T7, T8, T9, T10. And then one little lone bugger here that doesn't fit inside the rack, which is a T15, which I've yet to see a T15 screw in a knife. I'm not saying they're not out there, but I just haven't seen it. And then of course you've got this little one here, which is a adjustable that locks into position, right? And it is really, really slick. There's a magnetic lock inside there, and it's awesome. And of course we've got the exact same thing here. We've got all the way from T6, T7, T8, T9, T10, and T15. So most of the times, lots of times now with your pivots, you're going to have a screw on one side, a screw on the other side, but it's going to be there's going to be a D lock inside your pivot. So you should be able to just take one screw out and that works. But the odd time that you need to have a screwdriver in both sides, that's where that comes really, really handy. So you can put, you know, because I mean, it's just nice to have, say 2 T8 screws, one in each side, and twist her off, and it's really, really nice to be able to take out a screw with that, you know. And they're really, really, they're nice and comfortable. They've got a little bit of grip on them, and they've got the cap here that turns. So when you actually do put some, weight into it, it'll just sit there and spin inside your hand, which is really, really nice. I mean, if you're going into something and you're turning, I hate doing that all the time. It's so nice that once you got the thing blocked, you can just give it a little turn with your fingers, and it's so, so comfortable. Now, I'm sure that there's some other crazy stuff with this Wera that I'm not talking about. No, you know, it's got a little holder, and yeah, so that's the screwdrivers that I use. Like them quite a bit. All right, we'll put that over there for a bit. Now, one of the other things that I use quite a bit is these two particular items right here. Now, these are actually not native to the like knife world. They're actually trim tools for the auto body world. They're designed to be taking body shop clips off. So if you're going to say you're going to open up a door panel and you've got a clip there, these are designed to get in there. They're made of a really, really strong nylon, so they're not going to mar up or scratch any of this stuff here, because sometimes the finishes on our knives are, I'm not going to say they're delicate, but you certainly don't want to be taking a metal screwdriver and trying to pry in there and scratching things, where this is no reason you're going to scratch this whatsoever. And this here on this side is almost like a little dead drop hammer. It's got a little bit of stuff inside it, and it's got a kind of a chromed end here. I never use that end. This end here has got a little bit of a rubber knob on it, and I don't use this all the time. It's just every once in a while you've got, say, some tubes inside there, and lanyard hole tubes are especially bad for sticking, and sometimes you'll just want to just take it and just give it a little tap, and it'll free things up. I don't use that very often, but it's nice to have there. And this actually, these two things came in a kit that my company sells. I think it's an 11-piece kit, but these are the two that I used mostly. There are other ones in there if I need to. I can get in there and just give it a little pry open. Really, really handy to have. Some people, they'll use maybe a popsicle stick with wood. Some people will take a flat screwdriver and put some tape on it. That'll work too as well, but it's always good to have a non-marring pry device for your knives. That's for sure one thing you definitely want to have. All right. The other thing that I use quite a bit is these. And this is the Q-Tips from hell. It is a Q-tip set that comes with big giant Q-tips. It comes with little tiny Q-tips, you know, medium Q-tips, all different lengths. and fairly inexpensive. I don't know what was in here. Jumbo Swab Assortment is what it was called. And yeah, there were quite a bit of Q-tips in here. And I've had this here for a couple of years. So you can see that a lot of the little ones that I've kind of used up already, they seem to be the ones that are the most popular here, which is the little one. That seems to be the most popular. But it's what I like about these here, as opposed to say like your Q-tips that you've got just coming from the store, is it seems like the cotton on the end here is woven quite a bit stronger than what your other Q-tips are going to be, and it doesn't leave that cotton strands around. Now sometimes, you know, when you're getting in there and you're cleaning, this will stay together with the harsh chemicals and, you know, stuff like that. But if you get a little piece of cotton stuck inside a bearing, you know, a ball bearing pivot, and then it just totally ruins your action. And these here stick together really, really well. Not very expensive, $12, $13 for this whole big kit. And that's what I use to clean my knives. Really, really like that. Now, if I'm going to use something with those, I'm going to be using a little bit of cleaner. And this is what I happen to use a lot. And this here, these products right here is what I happen to use quite a bit to clean my knives. Now, this particular one here is just water in it, but I ran out. Normally what I do here is, this is just an old eyeglass cleaner sprayer, and I actually mix distilled water and isopropyl alcohol in a 50-50 mixture. I give it a little bit of a shake, and it just seems to work really, really well. Now, a lot of people don't realize that water is actually the universal solvent. It's a great solvent by itself, and that little bit of isopropyl alcohol was as a degreaser too as well. So that works really, really well, and it's inexpensive too. It's inexpensive. This here is actually Blue Lube cleanser from Benchmade. Really, really, I bought this by accident actually. I went into Target Knives in Calgary, and I asked for a lube, and I'd heard about this Blue Lube stuff, and he handed me this bottle, and I didn't look at it properly, and I left, and I drove back to Lethbridge, and I opened it up, and I thought, damn it, this is a cleanser. It's both, but I mostly use this as a cleanser. Sometimes I'll use this if I have a knife that I don't want to open up. I'll dump some of this in the pivot, especially if something I've noticed is a little bit sticky, like if I've cut some apples and stuff like that, and sometimes some juice can run in there and it gets a little bit sticky, I'll use this Blue Lube cleanser that way, because not only does it clean, it also lubricates at the same time, so you never have that kind of dry firing with your knives. All right, so that's there. And then the other product that I use is the stuff called Multi-Clean. And Multi-Clean is basically it's an assembly cleaner lubricator. This not only will this degrease, it also will take, you know, residue, especially tape residue. I hate when you're breaking down cardboard boxes, invariably you get tape residue all over your blade, and this stuff will eat it up really, really nice. And the other thing too that's nice about this Multi-Clean is it's food safe too as well. So if I clean off my knife blade with this, I don't have to worry about, if I cut some apples again, of poisoning myself or any of my family. So cleans, degreases, extremely oily contaminant without leaving any residue, and removes silicone residue too as well. So that's what it's called. It's called Multi-Cleaner. I do, most of the time I'll take some of this and I'll spray it on a cloth. Very rarely do I spray it right onto the blade, because it does got some power with this, and it'll go all over the place if I don't be careful with it. So that's why I like having this too as well. It doesn't spray as hard, and it's nice to be able to clean with it. And yeah, so some of the other stuff here too as well that you'll want to use, and not everybody will want to use these all the time, is this temperature reduction spray. Now, the one thing I also forgot to grab here is I have a heat gun and a soldering pencil. It's a little butane soldering pencil, and it's used in the electronic industry. And what I like about my little soldering pencil, and I wish I had it here, and I was dumb because I just thought about this second. I haven't had to use it in a while. Spyderco used to use a thread locker in their knives, and it was darn near impossible to get their knives open, undo the screws without stripping them. And so what you had to do is you had to either use a hairdryer or a heat gun, or what I would do is I would do a soldering pencil, or I'd heat the soldering end up and I would just touch it onto the screw and intermittently until it got hot. And then once it got hot, it would release the red thread locker, and then you could crack it open, and then you're good to go. But sometimes too as well, what I use this for, this temperature reduction spray, is to spray around it. Like if you've got something here like an FRN handle, your FRN here is probably wouldn't react too well to heat, so a little bit of spray of this will cool that right down. The other really nice thing too is, like I said, you got some lanyard tubes on there that sometimes I've had a lanyard tube in a particular knife that is gone now, but it was such a bugger to put that lanyard tube back in. You know, it was stuck when you take it and you pry it apart, and the tolerances were so good on this particular knife that it just was such a bugger to get that back in. So what I would do is I would take the temperature reduction spray, and I would take the lanyard tube and I'd set it there, and I'd give it a good long spray until it was cool, and then I would install it. And then once, because you know, stuff that's cool will contract and stuff that's hot will expand. So if I contracted that little tube and stuck it in there, and then it would heat up, and then it would kind of lock itself into place. So the one thing I like about this particular stuff here is it doesn't leave a residue at all when you spray it. It's just cold, so there's nothing there that it leaves behind. Where some of the stuff that you spray will leave kind of a residue behind, this will leave nothing. And it's actually designed to check in the automotive industry, like say PCM module, stuff like that, that you've got a cold start issue. Well, you'll spray the computer board to make it cold, like it's 30 below outside, and then you can find what your problem is. Now, compressed air, just regular dust that you use to clean keyboards, that'll also have some cooling properties too as well. So if you ever need it, that's an inexpensive way to go. I just happen to like this temperature reduction spray. All right, a couple of other things, chemicals that you'll want to have in your kit is you'll want to have, say, some mineral oil and some thread locker. Now, the mineral oil is just nice to have along because sometimes you'll want to treat a blade. Where I happen to live, it's very dry, although it hasn't been dry this spring, but it's normally very dry, so I don't worry too much about corrosion on my blades. If they're being put away for a long time, a high carbon blade, if you have any sort of moisture, you'll want to take a little bit of mineral oil and just wipe it on the blade, just so when you put it away and you pull it out, say 6 months later, it doesn't have rust spots all over it. That's mostly what I use the mineral oil for. Some people use it for lubrication. I have an open L knife that I use specifically for apples and stuff like that, and I'll treat the beechwood handle and the pivot with this mineral oil and the blade a little bit, just because it's totally food safe and it allows me to treat that beechwood. So that's mostly what I use that for. So that's just a little handle. And then the other thing is you'll want to have is some good thread locker. And this is some blue thread locker, and it's just because you don't want to be losing screws. And I don't know how many, I'm missing a screw right now in a clip screw in an Endura that I have, and it just drives me bananas that I've only got two. And it's just a simple bit of thread locker. The biggest brand of thread locker out there is the Permatex brand. I don't happen to like it because I think it's too watery. This is our house brand, which is our Worth thread locker. And what I like about it is the fact that it is so thick that it doesn't run. As you can see here, it just stays on the screw, and it doesn't go anywhere. Where Permatex, you drop it and then most of it hits the floor. And that's normally what I do is I open it up and I close it and it leaves a little bubble on the top. That's most of the time. And then I'll just take my screwdriver with my screw on it, and then I'll just dab it in there, and Bob's your uncle, you got thread locker on your screw. That's what I normally do. All right, thread locker. Now the other thing that you'll want to have all the time is just a couple of cloths. in some tape. Simple things. I like, if you're working on a knife, especially something that is super sharp, you'll want to tape the blade, and I use painter's tape because it doesn't leave a residue. You'll want to use this. Sometimes you'll have a job where you won't be able to finish, so you'll want to say take all your screws and tape them down so they don't get lost. You can roll this pad up with everything in it if you want. Tape your knife together. You want to tape your blade. Sometimes you're doing some work where you don't want to worry about scratching, so you tape your handle. And so that's what I use, just painter's tape, simple thing. The other thing is just some cloths, and these are dirty. They stay at my desk, and they're used to wipe schmutz. They're used to clean fingerprints. I use them to polish a little bit. They're just a really super handy. This is a really fine weave. No, not going to release any fibers. And this one here is just a big towel that I got at Costco. Inexpensive. Nothing that you probably haven't seen already. Now, this is not an absolute necessity, but when you've got your screwdrivers here, sometimes you'll come across a knife that has got some security bits on it. So this bit set here that I have is simply, it's a master bit set, and it's got these little security Torxes in them. You don't need to get a whole kit for them, but I just happen to, because I work for a tool company, it's really nice to have, and I have this at my desk. I've only come across a security Torx one time, but you just never know. And this one's got some crazy things in it that if you have to, like, this is like a 3-winged Phillips that I think you can take Xboxes apart with. But that's just really simple little thing here just thought I'd throw it about. Another really important thing I think to have is this, a light, this is a 2 little worth light, little flashlight, and then this, it's got a light in it too as well, and it's my magnifying glass, because I'm getting older, I can't always see properly, and these two things come in handy quite a bit. So, all right. Well, we've got just a couple more things here. I have, and these here, you don't necessarily need these, but mostly what I've got here is sandpaper. Having a supply of sandpaper is really handy too as well. And I happen to have these, are called Superflex sandpaper. They're a wet dry sandpaper. This particular one here is a 2500 grit. And then you've got ones here that are different grits too as well. Just having them around in your shop where you maintain your knives are so handy. I happen to use this 2500 grit one sometimes on my phosphor bronze washer knives. What I'll do is I'll take the washer, a little bit of spritz of water on there, and I'll just take it and I'll just rub it around in a circle for a little bit. You want to be very careful, because you can take too much off and then your knife isn't setting properly. I just like to be able to polish my washers, so a very tiny amount on the sandpaper, and then I go to my Knives Plus drop block and I give it around a wiggle with my finger, and it also shines up that pivot washer, and it makes my knife way smoother. And yeah, and then there is one other thing here that I use quite a bit, and it is a Dremel little vise. This is a handy little tool, and it's something that you don't necessarily need to have all the time, but it's nice, it's handy if you need an extra hand once in a while. And it's nice that this I'll actually go right onto the table. And now what I'll do here is I will actually probably down the road, give me a couple of days, and I'm going to do a whole video on this. This is a really nice little tool. But I picked this up at Amazon, very inexpensive. I think it was about 45 bucks. And I love the fact that it's got a vise on it here that will not harm the finish on your knives blades, and they're really handy. But that's the other thing that I use in my maintenance kit. So Oh my goodness, I gave you guys a ton of information there. I'm sure that I'm probably missing things that I would normally have in this kit, but yeah, I think that's pretty much mostly. Oh, sorry about that. One little quick thing. Man, I always have a notepad and a pen handy because sometimes you'll want to just write down if you need to order something, if you need to, if you want to draw a little diagram, because sometimes you go to, some of these knives are really intricate on how you put them together. And sometimes I will take pictures, other times I'll draw myself a little diagram or myself a little note. It's just really, or I'll label something on it. It's just handy to have inside your shop is a notepad and a pen. Very, very simple thing that will save you a headache. And I hope that this stuff here gives you an idea of what to put inside your shop or into your knife kit. You may not need all this stuff. You may not have all this stuff. Maybe you'll want to get some of this stuff. I just hope that it has helped somebody somewhere have a better life and a better knife life. Oh, I like that, knife life. All right. Now, if you enjoyed me rambling on here for a little bit, please give me the thumbs up and the subscription. I appreciate it so much. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time out there. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, please stay safe. Keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.